Hello.
Right.
Hey, how are you?
I recognize this
you.
one.
Hey,
You might
nice to see
recognise
you.
me.
Hey, how are you? Hi, how are you?
Hello.
You've got a
you're
bit
famous.
of a beast here, haven't you?
You like that, huh?
My
Well,
goodness.
I saw you
It better be
chasing.
zero emission or you'll be in big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I saw you weren't very impressed with the mayor's armored car,
Well,
but I could
I
recognize
wasn't.
your voice from anywhere.
Can you?
but- Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you doing that, and I thought you were quite reasonable.
Well, I
as
think
well.
it's reasonable just to ask any elected official for a bit of time.
Yeah.
I would just like to stress what aggrieved me most was that he had come. Nothing was organised for that. Just so you know, I'm a local resident. I'm not political on this, and I literally got a call just saying, "Look, Sadiq's at the local coffee shop. You know, will you go along?" And I was actually in the middle of doing some work, and I do have to make a living. But I shot up there, and there was three other people, I think, 3 or 4 people who were local residents, and nothing organised at all. And when I got there, Sadiq was giving media interviews, televised, 3 different media interviews, and we stood in silence while he conducted those, and which was very respectful, and you know, let him say his piece. When he finished the interviews, I just said, "Can we have a word?" You know, local residents looked at us, about footed, walked in the coffee shop, and I thought it really not acceptable. And then so we stood there. It was a very cold day. I had a chat with some people outside, and then his PA came out. I think one of his PAs came about 20 minutes later, and said he's gone. And I said, well, unless there's a tunnel under here, no one's gone anywhere. So, you know,
You
so
were, like, shouting into the coffee shop. You said,
I said I wanted to talk to him. So, and it was, you know, I just thought it's not. You're an elected representative, and you should be able to answer to your people, and that's all I wanted. And you know, I didn't feel I was rude to him, and I was very disappointed.
You were quite reasonable, and I made a couple of videos about this later.
Right.
And I said, I mean, you guys weren't swearing, you weren't being violent, and you were going on this, and you said, "Mr. Mayor, we're from Enfield, we just want to ask you some questions about the LTN. You're on your bike," and he just didn't even engage with you, and he ran off, and I thought, that just doesn't seem right for an elected official. Like you said at the very end of the video,
Yeah.
I assume he was here trying to get our vote.
That's the
At
thing.
least he would listen to us.
Well,
and
I
then-
think it was actually a photo op, basically,
Yeah,
which
there's so many
turned
of those.
sour. And I haven't seen. I did hear somebody say, "Oh, you know, he'd been told not to go out and about after this incident," and I thought, well, I don't think that will be the case. But I must say, I haven't seen a lot of media coverage from him, so it does seem as though he's like, "Well, I've got a big lead. Your best bet is to stay out of the public eye and just let time play out."
He has to, because his policies are making everyone angry.
Well, the main thing is, I'll say, this scheme has been extremely socially regressive. It's forcing everything onto our only entry and exit is via the North Circular.
Right.
It's not been done with our consent.
Yeah.
We elect people to serve us. The councillors are doing this against us. This is actually quite a strong Labour area traditionally, and I would say the Labour community here feel pretty winded by this, because
they
it's
weren't
just
consulted.
we haven't had due process. There was no reason not to be doing that, and this has been cooked up over a long period of time. So the notion that it was COVID that prompted this, all that COVID did was enable it to be imposed without consultation.
Right.
There was plenty of time to consult before COVID came along. My other gripe is, you could say, "Hey, look at this, isn't this wonderful? There's no traffic." If you go around this scheme, there is incredible displaced traffic,
Right.
and they are often the poorer people, and they are getting the pollution somewhere else. My community is not beyond the confines of this glorified traffic island. You know, it goes beyond, and we should be treated. Anything around here cannot be done unilaterally. The bugbear in the room here is an unupgraded section of the North Circular. It was meant to have been tunnelled as it was in Edmonton and along. So because that never happened, we had a mini upgrade for the Olympics, which was just widening junctions, etc. But since then, they've built a lot of high-rise flats. There's another proposal. This is what I wanted to talk to the mayor about. If you turn right on this road here and go about a quarter of a mile, you hit the North Circular. Literally directly onto the North Circular, there is proposals for a 20-storey tower and a few other towers, feet from the most congested section, one of the most congested sections of the North Circular, which has a lot of stationary traffic. It's got traffic lights there as well. And I'm like, well, if this is about cleaning air, why are you continuing to dump the most vulnerable families feet from the main road? This is my son. He's in the local school, which backs onto the North Circular. You're sending more traffic onto there. And you know, it's just we need joined up, intelligent debate, and we need to be in the picture.
Right.
And it's we end up playing cat and mouse with our council.
Didn't the High Court just rule streetscape? I mean, illegal because he pushed it through during COVID without
Well,
proper...
they've appealed.
I know.
As you know, and I think they got although the judge had initially ruled that it shouldn't be it shouldn't be appealable. I believe they got leave to appeal that. The main thing is, COVID has been a very traumatic time for people, and to try and force this through, because it's about behavioural change, and there was no behavioural change in the 2018 Labour local election manifesto. There was a commitment to quieter neighbourhoods, and in quieter neighbourhoods it talked about 20-mile-an-hour zones and traffic calming. It did not talk about LTNs. So we haven't ever had this debate.
Right.
And I don't think they have the mandate for this. And if they want to stand under a mandate of behavioural change and low traffic neighbourhoods, and they got voted in, I would be more than happy. But that has not been done.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, any questions?
No, I mean, I had the same discussion with a guy named Adam in Ealing. I was literally doing a food drop to St. John's, and the residents were yelling at me from every place, saying how much they hated the LTNs. One guy was getting fined for visiting his grandmother. One guy couldn't see ambulances going through. The local businesses were suffering. Emissions were up. Every single resident was like literally almost yelling at me. And I said, I'm not even the mayor yet. And they said, but no one's come out here to listen to us. The council's not listening to us.
Well, that's the sad thing, I will
it's been
say,
a year,
and unfortunately
they feel
the
frustrated.
opposition hasn't been out as well. We have been very forgotten about.
Yeah, I mean, but the mayor, I think he just assumes he's going to get everyone's vote. He assumes if he voted Labour before, he'll vote again. And so he's not going to come out here. And again, I feel like he puts these schemes through without really talking to the residents and just thinking about
You need to be
how it's gonna
engaged, and I think
have to.
it really has to. I mean, this is a prime example here. I mean, you could say, quite simply, people don't know the highway code. That's what. So the lead sponsor is Ian Barnes in the council on this scheme. The political sponsor, he's the deputy leader of the council. And unfortunately, we've given him many invites to come down here, and he hasn't engaged with us. And he's only engaged in community groups, just 2 people from each. They're not allowed to be recorded or shared. Again, not democracy in action. He's been an elected official. He's from a different ward, about 1.5 miles away from here. So, you need to engage with people. But, he'd argue that anyone who drives through there, they should see that's not allowed. But for example, I've walked along here and I had to engage with an Uber driver, and he said, I'm like, sorry, am I right to drive through here? And I said, no, don't do that. You will get a £120 fine or whatever it is. And he said, well, what do you mean? It's got a picture of a car and a motorcycle.
It's not obvious.
I know, and it would be nice if we just had a cross through it at least, or at least there's something to say penalties will be given. And the fact is people don't understand those signs, and I'll tell you how they don't understand them. They've raised more than £1 million from these.
In so many boroughs.
Just in Enfield, they're clocking up.
Adam in Ealing, he thought that was intentional for the signage to be unclear. He said, at least put the sign up that tells me.
I've called it a honey trap. I think it's helping pay for these things.
Yeah, but we're at the worst recession in 300 years.
They're meant to be working for us.
I know.
Not against us.
How are you going to tax the citizens in the worst recession in 300 years by putting these things in an unclear way and trying to get them to pay for a bankrupt transport system that shouldn't be bankrupt if it was just run differently?
It's meant to be government by consent, and that is not what we're seeing.
Look, you're right to be frustrated. I appreciate that. I think elected officials should give you answers. I think they should be transparent. They should be talking to you on social or in person. And like, I saw you on that video. I remember you. And again, you were really calm.
Well, I hope I wasn't too heated, because I tell you, it's been extremely frustrating. I have work to do myself. We all had to take time out to do this, and it's just felt. It's felt like we're living in a dictatorship. Yeah. It's not.
Yeah.
It's really not what it's for.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Have you've spoken about the shop?
Yeah. He was just talking about how his business. Well, 2 things. First of all, you don't see the traffic flow coming here, so it hurts your business. And then the traffic, because the cars
passing traffic, people aren't coming to the shop. I mean, let's get factual about this. rat running, which is what the term that's being used a lot, people taking shortcuts. These things are problems now. You have a lot of these apps which will, you know, suggest easy routes.
Right.
This road was worst affected in this area, along with Brownlow, which they're looking at doing something with. But these things can all be done through calming, and they can, you know, you can slow traffic right down. You can have traffic lights at that end, because there's already traffic lights at that end, so you can restrict flows. But to actually cut that off and to think that traffic's going to disappear, it just gets squashed somewhere else. Just like you have a balloon with water in, if you squeeze it, it's going to come out somewhere else. So, you know, you have to take people with you, and I think this is ideologically led rather than what can you say, people led.
Yeah,
and that's the
people-led.
main point, really.
And I think it's all trying to solve a problem, which is to try to raise those tax revenues to pay for a transport system. And I think that's completely poorly thought out. Same as increasing congestion charge to pay for that. And I think it needs to be completely rethought, and you need to be consulted, and the businesses have to be consulted. And if emissions go up and routes go up and businesses go out of business, then it's clearly not the right thing to
Well,
do.
I think that's the other point. I mean, we're actually seeing, for example, if I'm actually finding my journeys being longer, 3 times longer sometimes than they were before, to do the same journey, because I'm restricted from this road and I'm joining more congestion. So I'm actually emitting 3 times the pollution I would have been otherwise. So these are really sort of strong factors, and the best decisions come out of informed debate involving different stakeholders, and that's really not what's happening. So that's my main concern of things.
Yeah, and I think that's the big frustration with the current mayor, is that he's just not out there consulting with people.
Really
It's by decree, and again, there doesn't seem to be accountability or any KPI metrics on the back of these things. Like, is it really helping? Is it not helping? Is it hurting the businesses? Is it hurting emissions? And that has to be put in place.
They've seen the COVID pandemic as an opportunity to do unpopular things. I mean, I know this chap in the shop very well because I use the shop a lot. They've literally lost 40% of their trade. They haven't been consulted properly on this. It's not, you know, it just came out of the blue. It's just not the way things are done, you know, it really isn't. And we are, unfortunately, we are not a natural low traffic neighbourhood, because we are a mile and a half away from Muswell Hill, Palmer's Green, Orwood Green. So we're very much, we don't have that, what you'd normally do with a low traffic neighbourhood. You'd have your trendy high street in the middle, and you'll get a compass and do a mile and a half around and say, right, there's your low traffic neighbourhood. But we've actually got to cross into these displaced traffic roads to go anywhere. So, you know, it doesn't fit here at all. It's just not being rightly done.
Yeah.
It really does. So,
Look, I've spent the last 8 months trying to find out what the problems are in this city. I actually just released a manifesto where I talk about all these issues, including LTNs and rethinking that and my solutions for transport. I'll get you a copy, but look, I'm just trying to listen and come up with some independent ideas. I don't come from a party, which means I don't have corporate financing or donors or backroom deals or MPs to worry about. I just want to see what's best for London, and this is clearly an issue for you.
We appreciate you coming down, and we appreciate any candidate coming down. We've had, is it Farah? She's been down. I think she's going to be coming again. I was working, so I wasn't able to see her last time. But, you know, anybody who comes down to see us is a good thing. And anyone who comes down, we'll wish you luck in the democratic process.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for doing what you did. And thanks for, you know, holding the mayor to task. And thank you both for the time today. I really appreciate it.
We're much grateful to you.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Focusing on this road.
Thank you.
We're going to broadcast this.
Thank you very much indeed.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much. All right. Booyah.